Welcome to this new Football Manager 2015 experiment featuring China and India. Thank you for the support on the San Marino and the Indonesia World Cup experiment. The feedback's been amazing, all the likes on it has been amazing. And this one's very similar, so for those of you that have watched those, you'll know what this is all about. If you haven't, maybe go and check them out. But essentially what I'm going to do is, I'm going to improve China and India's youth and also a few other things, and we're going to see over time if they can improve, rise up the rankings, the world rankings, and then eventually win the World Cup. So this is a race for the World Cup between two giant nations. This part one is going to be a bit shorter than usual. I'm only going to go a few years rather than quite a few years like I usually do, simply because I want you guys to interact with this one. I want you to predict who will win the World Cup first, China or India. So what I want you to do is, would much appreciate it if you hit that like button first of all if you're looking forward to this series. Secondly, there's a straw poll in the description below. Click on that and vote on that poll as to whether you think China or India will win the World Cup first, or neither of them will win it. We've seen San Marino fail, we've seen Indonesia succeed because of me in charge. Will China and India, with their bigger populations, have more success than those two nations and not have to have me taking control of them to try and win the World Cup? So vote on that. But you've got it. They've basically got until 2100. I'm going to holiday up to 2100. If no one's won it by then, that's the end of the series. But hopefully someone will win it before then. So get voting. Maybe also comment in the comment section below who you think will win and maybe say why. Perhaps China, with that extra 100 million people, will succeed. In real life, India are expected to overtake China's population very soon, but I don't think the game FM15 accounts for population change. I think they will stay at 1.24 billion and China will stay at 1.34 billion. So what have I done to India and China to help them succeed on their challenge? Let's look at India first. They're 146th in the world currently, very low in the world rankings. China are 100th in comparison, so perhaps China have that initial advantage there. They're higher in the rankings, they've currently got a better team, they're historically been better at football than India, sorry. So perhaps it'll be an easy task for China to defeat India, but you never know, Here's India between Vietnam and Barbados. It is ridiculous, their population's huge, but they're just not into football quite the same. There's definitely an improvement. People are more interested in football nowadays. They've got a decent league. Well, it's okay, it's improving. They've had people like Nicholas and Nelka go over there. So, there's definitely more money in the game, especially. So what I have done is, I've not changed any of this, but for China and India, I've made the football game importance very important. India's was very low and China's was pretty low as well, I think. So it's more important. Hopefully that means we'll get more players being generated. Secondly, what I have done is I've improved the youth rating to 200. That's the maximum you can get. So we should be seeing lots of good regens coming through in the coming years. And also what I've done is, once again, with the top division in this country, there's only 11 teams, I have improved the youth facilities and all of that sort of thing to try and help them, give them a boost anyway. So I've given them a sugar daddy. All 11 teams are sugar daddy, so hopefully he can regenerate the club as it starts to decline, because I have improved all the facilities to 20, training, youth, junior and youth recruitment all to 20. So that should help India produce better regens and train them up to be better as well, and hopefully improve the reputation of the league, which is very low at the moment. I have done the same for China. Like I said, the 100th in the world, they've got a bit of an advantage. They've got a Frenchman in charge who's actually a decent manager, so they've got an okay manager in charge. I've once again improved the generated players to 200. They've got an 80,000 seater stadium. I think India had a 60,000 seater stadium. Once again, I have the top division in China, I have improved. So it's 16 teams, so that's already, they've got a few advantages here, China. So perhaps they are favourites to win this, but you never know, because if you think about it, Uruguay have won the World Cup twice, and they've got a population, I think, under 4 million people, and they won it way back in the early days, and they've always been pretty good. So it's not all about population in football, but on the game it does seem to help if you've got a bigger reputation, especially these smaller nations, well, in regards to football. If they've got a bigger population, we saw Indonesia be much more successful than San Marino because of them able to regenerate more players. They had a decent league as well. So hopefully the Chinese and Indian leagues will succeed in boosting the reputation of the country, give them better players, and we shall see them creep up the world rankings. So I'm going to holiday about 3 or 4 years, probably to the first World Cup, because I don't think either of them will make it to the first World Cup. We never know, but they're not going to win it anyway first time around. So we'll holiday past the first World Cup, and then after that you guys can vote if you haven't done so already, and then I'll continue to do parts 2, 3, 4, however many we need to go. So I've holidayed through to June 2019, so I'm looking back on the 2018 World Cup, which was won by Colombia, and they beat Cameroon in the final. Now, Colombia are a strong team on this game, but for those two teams to get through to a final, that is really unlikely. Colombia beat Spain in the semi-final, and Cameroon beat England on penalties in the semi-final. Typical, had to be penalties, didn't it? So China and India, I don't think, got through to this World Cup. No, I've just had a quick look, and they didn't get through to the 2018 World Cup. But let's look at China and see how they're getting on. They're up to 50th in the world, so that's improvement already in those 5 years. The highest they've been is 48th in recent times. 42nd, sorry, recently. They've dropped down to 50th of late. So they're in with, let's see where they are. Just below Northern Ireland and just ahead of Burkina Faso. So it's obviously something's going right for China at the moment. This guy's apparently the top player in China at the moment, whether he's got the highest current ability and potential. He's got 148 current ability, 190 potential. He's 22 now though, so I doubt he's going to reach that potential. Maybe he's not been trained up sufficiently, or he's been stuck in China, hasn't gone abroad. He's been playing for Shenzhen the whole time in the Super League, which has been, you can see he's won it recently, Shandong, Gunzhou and Shenzhen. I doubt there's many Chinese people watching this, if any, because I know YouTube is blocked in YouTube unless you use VPNs and stuff. So if you're a Chinese person watching, or perhaps you used to live in China, or your parents were born there or something, hi, I hope you enjoy this video, and same with Indians as well. Look at this guy. Jing Shiping, 30-year-old, is actually a real-life player. Apparently they're second best players. So they've still got a mix of real-life players and regens in here. They've got a few players that are 30 or over, but they've got some regens. Most valuable player is Ji Yu, a centre-back, 12 caps for China at the age of 20. 123 current ability, 147 potential. Not bad, could be better, but they have made some improvements. So let's hope that they can continue to produce players of this quality, and better players as well. They need to produce better players if they've got any chance. This is the biggest prospect at Shandong. He's 20 years old. He's a goalkeeper. He's already got 5 caps for China, which is quite good for a keeper. Has decent potential, so perhaps he could be a top quality goalkeeper in the future. And India aren't too far behind. They're 61st in the world. Still got this guy in charge, Stephen Constantine. I think he was there before. Let's have a look at them then. Who are they with? They're only 11 places below China, so they've definitely caught up. Beforehand it was about 46 places difference, I think, and now they're just below Greece and Albania and Norway, Czech Republic. They're, you know, just below some good European teams there. They're above Ecuador and Iceland and Bolivia and Peru, so to be above 3 South American teams is very impressive. North Korea just there as well, just below. So they've certainly made an improvement. The highest they've been is actually 59th, and they've, in the last, I mean in 2017 they were still 106th, but they've really boosted themselves recently. I've got to look at the Chinese schedule and results recently, so I'll have a look at that in a bit. Their top player is someone called Paco, 19 goals in 29 games for India. This is more like it. He looks like a decent player. Got 163 potential, 126 current at the moment. He's 21, so he's still time to improve. Good finishing and dribbling, playing for AC Ajaccio in League 1 in France. So he's got a move to a European team. There's someone at Man City, Bruno Barreto, 20-year-old midfielder, 6 goals in 31 games for India. Very good physical attributes there. And decent potential, 144 current, 158 potential. Could become a good player. Bought for 475k from Maritimo from Portugal. So yeah, they've got some good players in there. This guy is a real life guy that plays for India. Danny Bath plays for Wolves. Not sure the Indian National Football League is really... It's gone up in reputation, up to 15th actually. I'm not sure about the individual teams. Lajong, still 1.5 star potential. They're currently top. They won it in 2019. East Bengal have been pretty good. Still 1.5 potential there. That needs to creep up for them to really challenge, I think. But let's look at Lajong's hot prospect, Akash Ansari, who doesn't have any caps for India yet, but that's because he's only 16. 148 potential, not bad, not brilliant. We need these countries to be producing just as good players as Indonesia, but it will take a bit of time. Hopefully, over time, they will produce better and better players. So I'm just going to look at their recent results since we started the experiment. So 2014, they won 3 games, drew 1 and lost 3. Then World Cup qualifying stages, they did lose a couple games against rivals Sri Lanka, lost against Kuwait, which probably prevented them from qualifying actually. Well, obviously they didn't qualify because they weren't in the 2018 World Cup. Then we've got Asian Cup qualifying rounds. We've won every single game in 2017. This year they have actually, 2018 sorry, they did lose 3 games, New Zealand, Uzbekistan and Philippines. But they did do quite well in the Asian Cup qualifying. And then they got through to the Asian Cup and actually got through to the semi-final, losing against North Korea. That's really unlucky. They won the 3rd place playoff against South Korea. Let's look at the Asian Cup then. Saudi Arabia won it in 2019, Japan in 2015. Let's see how they compared to China actually. That would be interesting. So let's look at all of the groups. Did China even qualify? Shouldn't they did. Yep, they finished top of their group, actually above India. Oh, I didn't see those fixtures. Didn't have a look at the result between each of them. So second round, India beat Oman and China beat Australia. Very good win against a team that generally wins this tournament. Quarter final, India beat Japan, but China lost against South Korea. That is a tough group though, but very good win for India against Japan. So they've really improved. They're beating the bigger Asian countries that generally have done very well in world football. And then they did lose out against South Korea, who did actually beat China as well. So yeah, that is impressive actually. Against China they drew 1-1. Hong with the goal for China, a real life player in fact, and the goal for India was Bruno Barreto. Okay, moving on to China. Their first year, 2014, only lost a couple of games. Then 2015 was a pretty good year for them. Lost against North Korea in the Asian Cup 2015. And then 2016, these are the World Cup qualifying rounds. They did lose a couple of games and then they lost against Japan. So that they did get through to the final stage though. And actually won the playoff. And then they lost against Chile. So they had to win their playoff against Qatar to then face an Asian versus South American playoff, and they lost 4-0 on aggregate against Chile. They were so close to getting the World Cup. That was the last stage they needed to complete to get through. So they're pretty unlucky there. East Asian Cup, I don't know what this really is. Who's won this? China won it in 2010, but since then South Korea and Japan have won it the last couple of times. And then 2019 we've already looked at. Asian Cup, they did pretty well getting through to the quarter-final. And World Cup qualifying, so far they've beaten Bangladesh 7-0, very strong win there. So that is pretty much the end of this part. All you need to do, please hit that like button, please vote, and then in part 2 I will holiday a bigger chunk, probably 20-25 years, to see how they've improved. And hopefully, maybe one of them will win the World Cup, probably not in that short space of time, but before 2100, one of these teams needs to win it, otherwise it is a draw for the race for the World Cup. See you in part 2, guys.